Well, Hellmans, welcome back to the Chop Shop. You are with Guido, second best gel blaster channel on the internet, and I'm here with part 2 of the Ausgel Ultras, or Ghosts as I'm calling them, and it's become apparent to me that I'm going to have to explain to a few people how scales work, because the amount of comments telling me that I should just tear my scale with an extra 3 kilos on it or something like that. If you've got a scale with a 5 kilo load cell, you can't just tear it to 3 kilos and then be able to measure 8 kilos. If you've got like a scale and like you can only bend it to that far, then starting it from here doesn't mean you can all of a sudden bend it further. It's like you've got that much, you've got 5 kilos of load cell, and if you start with 3 kilos on it, you can only then measure another 2 kilos. So you can't overload your scale by just tearing it with more mass. That doesn't work. In this particular scale here, it actually has 4 load cells. Each one of those I think is about 40 kilos per corner or something like that. Not 100% sure, but it's a lot more than 5 kilos, which is my other one. There's 4 load cells here, right? So one in each corner. What this does, it's also got a calculator or an adding machine inside it, which adds the weight of all 4 corners. So, for example, if I put 10 kilos in the middle here, it's going to sort of get 5 kilos there and 5 kilos there. It's probably actually going to measure a bit of weight on that bit as well, but it adds all the corners together to be 10 kilos. So if I put 10 kilos just on this corner, it should register 10 kilos on this corner, even if there's no weight on these other corners. So stuff and things, just to get that out of the way. I am going to just jump straight into this. I've had to change my apparatus a little bit, and because I am using different scales, different crusher, all previous measurements are out the window. They mean nothing anymore. Just so you know, I am going to put a green AT on here and crush it so we can get sort of like a starting point. So 3.4. So I've roughly got that calculated about where they were on my old scale. So roughly, I think it's actually taking a little bit more pressure, 3.4. I think these were taking about 3.2. I'm just going to chuck another one in just for the sake of the video. I gotta get it on again. Alright, so 3.5 that one took. So I think it is a little bit it's taking a little bit more than on my other scale. Again, for people who don't realize how scales work and how this works, what I'll do is I'll just chuck another shim underneath this rig. I built this rig for the other scale, which is why it's not ideal for this one, but it will get us where we need to be. Again, I'm using a load sensor in the corner here. This one's got 4, doesn't matter. But watch this. When I shim this up 2 millimeters, and it's 2 millimeters this thickness, watch what happens. Oh, barely took 1.1 kilo before it crushed. So that's how much difference all of this makes. So I've been playing around in the workshop with all sorts of bits and pieces, trying to get a rig that will work with these scales and give me similar readings to what I was getting with the old scales. And I think I'm there. Let's just go one more here. 3.3 that one went at. Alright, that's close enough for me. We just got to know that it is reading maybe 0.1 or 2 of a kilo higher, which is fairly significant, I guess. But we just got to know that we're comparing all things measured on this scale. Forget everything that happened in the previous videos on the other scale. Does that make sense? For what it's worth, I've got some new ATs. Those ones that I had just crushed just then were all OG ATs. So now I've got some new ones. Someone's claiming that the new batch isn't as good as the old batch. So let's see. Interesting. That one crushed at just over 2. Get another one. Put it in here. 2.7 that one went at. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Grab another one before this scale times out. It's going to time out any moment now, I'm sure. 2.4. Very interesting. Just so that we are real, I'm going to go back to one of the original ATs. 3, that looked like to me. And the scale timed out. Crack it back on again. Get another OG in there. 2.7. Interesting, interesting. I'm going to try another OG one, because I was getting over 3 originally. Alright, 3.4. I'm going to try one of the new batch. 2.5. Ah, interesting. Well, let me reset all that. New one. That one was 3.4. Okay, I'm not convinced that there's a difference between the old batch and the new batch. 3.3. Yeah, I think they're the same. Did get a couple that were crushing a bit easier early on there. Let me just quickly try another one. Yeah, I don't think the quality has changed. I think they're roughly the same. Yeah, that's not what we're here for. We want to see the ghosts. We want to see the ghosts on the scale. Alright, and I've got them here. Alright, so what I've got here, you can see I've got 3 different bottles. And the 3 different bottles are size matched. So I've got 6.8 to 7.0 millimeters, 7.0 to 7.3 millimeters, and 7.3 to 7.5 millimeters. Now, of all of these gels that I grew, as you can see, majority 7.0 to 7.3 millimeters in size. There were a few larger ones and not that many smaller ones from this batch, but like on average you're looking 7.0 to 7.3 in the size. So out of the thousands that I ran through the size sorter, I did get 4 big boys. And just see if you can see how big these are. That one's about, I think, 8.4, just slipped through. These ones are all about 8.5 millimeters. 8.3 that one. But they are, like I said, there was only 4, but there are abnormalities. only 4 out of I don't know how many thousand that I ran through, so that's not too bad. I mean, even with the OG 8.3, even with the OG Milkies, the gold packets, you'd get the odd big boy that would jam your mag up or whatever. So I mean, we're not out of those woods yet, but I just thought I'd share that. Only 4, that's not too bad, but I guess that's also not great. But it's also kind of to be expected. I very rarely find any gels that will not have some sort of irregularity and some sort of big boys in there. I guess the difference with these is that if you do get these sort of size gels and you don't filter them through a size sorter, Seismotron 4000, then these are going to jam up your mag or your barrel or something, because they're that hard that they don't crush. Smaller ones, or softer ones I should say, historically in the past have just been smushed, if they're too big, by the mechanisms and whatnot in the barrel. So in the barrel and by the mag mechanism, so they would just smush and then you get the next one pushing through. And but because these ones are so hard, they do have a tendency to jam your mechanism, literally jam them, because the mechanism isn't strong enough to crush them. So the ones that I'm going to crush today are the ones from the majority size, which is the 7.0 to 7.3, and one got away. Alright, here we go. Just get the scale on. Eight 0.1 kilos before that crushed. Alright. This out of the way, get the new one on there. Another one. $6.7 kilos that time. $7.7. Just going to do one more, just to drive the point home, sort of thing. 7.3. All right, so I think I don't think I need to do any more crushing of these things. I think the point is they are most definitely harder. They are requiring more than double the force to crush than an AT, and an AT needs more than, I think, like a third. Is it a third more or something like that than a standard Milky? Or yeah, so I mean these are definitely hard. And why do we care about that? Why is that a thing? Why do we even worry about this? Because this is awesome. Why do we have harder gels? Now, is it because we want to hurt our friends more? No, it's not. It's because we want accuracy, we want distance, we want to be able to play our game and know that where we point our blaster is where the gel is going to travel. And I mean, with soft gels that do all sorts of things while they're traveling through the air, it's very hard to maintain a consistent flight. Whereas with harder gels like these that don't deform as much when they're flying, we can add backspin to them, we can have Magnus effect to cancel out gravity so that they'll fly further for longer, and then hopefully when they land on our target, they'll land actually where we've aimed it, as opposed to, 4 or 5 meters to the left, which is not beyond the realms of possibilities with the accuracy of a lot of blasters these days. So what we're looking for in a gel isn't so much hardness or weight, but consistency in shape and size. And that probably brings me to my next thing. I'm gonna zoom right in on these right now. Now, so what we've got here are a selection of the Ghosts or the Ultras that I grew with no technique. I just chucked them in a bottle and let them grow. Now what I have noticed, and it may not be noticeable on the camera, but I've noticed that they're not, even though I've filtered these ones to be roughly the same size, they're not all the same shape. They seem to be not perfectly spherical. They seem to be, I don't know, a little bit odd shaped. And I mentioned that I grew these in a standard type of grow with just chucking them in a bottle and letting them grow. Something about this new formula of gels that makes them harder, they grow different when they're touching one another. See how these ones are all touching each other there? So I think, and I'm speculating, I don't know the science behind how gel balls grow, but I think when these are in the water can get to all these areas here, but these areas where the gels are touching doesn't absorb as much water as quickly because they're actually touching another gel. So to grow them more spherical, I say, they need to grow while they're not touching each other. And there's a few ways you can achieve this. You can do it on a flat tray and sort of put a big flat baking tray down and have them all lined up on the tray side by side like that, and sort of shake it around or agitate it every now and then. I have seen people putting them in like an aquarium with an air bubbler that bubbles air through them, so they're constantly sort of bubbling around and moving, so even if they are touching each other, it's a different surface all the time because they're being agitated and they're moving around. And I think that's the go if you want these to be perfectly spherical. And I mean, I'm being pedantic here. These are fine. These will shoot. But if you want them to be perfect, if you want to get the most out of them, which is really the reason that we have them, isn't it? Then you're going to have to start filtering them for size. You're going to have to start growing them with some more love rather than just chucking them all in a bucket and waiting. I think more than 4 hours. I know a lot of previous gels have been like 4 hours grow time and that's it. I think these you got to let go for longer than that, and I think you should shake them or agitate them or do something so they're not sitting on top of each other for extended periods of time, because I do find they tend to come out a little bit deformed or at least not perfectly spherical. I don't know if you can actually see that on the camera. It's so minute that it's probably not really an issue. But I have noticed that some of them do come out a little bit different shaped maybe more noticeable than some of the previous generations of gels. So some special growing techniques might be required, but these are definitely hard, and they are definitely a good step in the right direction. A lot of people saw my clickbaity title on the last video saying ultras are too hard. They might have thought that I actually got a lot of hate mail calling me a pussy, that sort of thing. Yeah, those people obviously don't understand irony and clickbait. Too hard for my scale at the time. Not too hard. I mean, they're still crushed. Look, obviously, I mean, I've just been crushing them in the Crushatron, but yeah, I mean, they crush. They aren't gonna hurt anyone any much more than a regular gel would anyway. So I mean, yeah, don't. It's a lot of people a little bit precious about these sorts of things, but yeah, it is what it is. I hopefully should have some AKA gels very shortly, so I'll be able to compare these to the AKAs. I'm hoping that they'll arrive any day now, maybe today. Hopefully by the time I've made this video they'll have arrived. Maybe not, I don't know. But I think for now we might call it quits. Oh man, the postman just came. Dropped this on me. Thank you, Next Gen Blasters. Big shout outs to Mark. This just got interesting.